Well, here with us today is Kai Mügge, a well-known physical medium. Great to have you on today, Kai. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know what you do. I know what you do. But maybe some of our listeners don't. So please give us a quick overview about yourself and the things that you're dealing with, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course, I like to do that. Yeah, it's a form of mediumship. It was for quite some time a little bit disregarded, and mental mediumship and the proof for survival and stage mediumship, people getting in contact with their loved ones was very much in the center of every mediumistic activity. And yeah, it was actually not even valued if you was trying to apply or to revive other forms of mediumship, because the whole movement and the background, the shamanistic and indigenous background, and specifically the Western projection of it, which is spiritism, talking to spirits, it always had a very strong interconnection with physical phenomena, actually. So the whole movement itself, actually, spiritism, it started with a specific incident. Actually, the chronicles of the American settlers are full with encounters with the supernatural, but there was one specific ongoing. These were knocks in the houses of the family Fox, and these were intelligent knocks, and the three daughters of the house, they became the first role models for mediums of the Western Hemisphere. And in these early days, physical phenomena, mental phenomena, they all were accepted and present in the repertoire of then evolving mediums coming from every part of the United States where it started. Thousands of them actually revealed themselves in the first years when the Fox sisters were promoting, also sent by the spirits, actually, this form of mediumship, this awareness about an unseen world around us we are embedded in. And physical phenomena were common, and only with the institutionalization of this movement, this was put aside. The institutionalization of this movement was starting to solely looking on to proof of survival form of mental mediumship that had to do with the many wars, and that so many people had lost so many brothers and sons and so forth. And there was this huge demand for contact with the spirits of the deceased. So a mediumship that was actually rooting in more of a holistic approach to the spirit world, not solely focusing on the spirits of the deceased, but many interconnection are thinkable here. Spirits are so varied, from nature spirits to planetary spirits, cosmological spirits, angelic spirits, ascended masters, and so forth. There is a huge range of entities you can get in contact with, and with many of them there is a route, a path takeable, in which there are physical forms of interaction. And this was well known, and actually is well known. The history of the supernatural is actually the history of its manifestations around us human beings. And parapsychology actually was founded in regard because of these many physical phenomena that were reported by totally reliable people, scientists, Nobel Prize winners. They all were reporting these physical phenomena, and that's actually why parapsychology was founded around 1860. And this route, this path is part of me since I am a youngster. This gaming around with spirits always had physical ramifications and interconnections, and it started with doors that flung open and things that were falling out of the shelves, and developed then more and more in sophisticated experimental groups that were formed and founded. And then there was a very long-term circle which I was able to develop as a medium in. This was the Felix Circle, and I believe most of this strong development as a physical medium was done in the Felix Circle, based in Germany, and of course relying onto a specific spirit guide who was actually a parapsychologist himself, very much interconnected during his lifetimes with physical phenomena. And he introduced actually physical phenomena to that degree into the circle work we were doing then. Yes, and there a full-blown mediumship was developed, and it's a total spiritual activity. It's a truly spiritual movement, and a spiritual mediumship means all these phenomena are embedded in forms of messages and revelations from the different perspectives. All these many spirit guides are communicating from. Dustin had just asked in regards to an extraterrestrial communicator, and actually with our extraterrestrial communicator, the most surprising and spectacular informations are being given. Yeah, there is a whole spirit team actually at work in our seances. It's a deep trance mediumship. That's what you actually imagine when you talk about mediums and mediums in trance and so forth. So there is a fully automatic speech process going on. I'm not part of. I'm actually in a kind of slumber that was trained not to be in any way or form part of the spoken content. And yeah, beautiful and highly interesting physical phenomena are taking place in these sessions, and thousands of people have seen it and visited it. And as long as they see value in what we are doing, we are carrying on to do it.
Interesting. Since you mentioned these phenomena, let's talk about a few of these phenomena. What exactly happens when you have holding a seance? What can happen?
That's a good question, and I'm just part of a documentary which is produced by Professor Dr. Eckhard Kruse, and there's just and in the second part of it, there is a very short overview how a seance, which is usually taking 3 hours, around 3 hours, how physical phenomena are actually developing and escalating in these sessions, and it usually starts with slight illumination phenomena, tiny flashes of light that start to appear around the medium. And the next step is that waves of touchings are going over the people. And you need to know that we are educated in the German way of medium education, means in all darkness phases of the seance, the medium is held in its place, hand on the medium, so that there is no question that the medium is anyhow involved in these sessions, in these ongoings. There are a lot of red light phases as well, sometimes even white light phases in which these phenomena are going on, but the touches, which are at the very beginning of these sessions, yeah, these are waves of touches going over the sitters, from very reluctant up to very complex forms of touches, like kisses or caressings of many ways and forms. And then a lot of distant or distance phenomena are taking place. Means when the medium is fully secured, the spirits are allowed actually to enter the room, and this entering is usually accompanied by a lot of like focus objects they are using actually to assure their physical presence. Yeah, and then materializations are taking place in red light, so objects appear from nothingness. Usually people are being given appreciations and valuings from the spirit world. The spirits have a very strong sub theme. It's about the existence in a still dual realm of reality, and in which stage we are at the moment. And it's in the very high interest of the spirits actually to empower our spiritual development, and in the end recruit us willingly to the light side of it, this eternal fight, this eternal war between good and evil, between light and darkness. And at the moment we are in a time in which extremely aggressive dark forces, I have to say that usually people are waiting and wanting, when we are talking about spiritual environment, they would like to hear of the beautiful things. But at the moment, things are happening because we have obviously not paid attention enough in the last even 20, 30 years, even longer, that the societies can be manipulated as they are at the moment, and that the power is out of the hands of the people actually, and has been overgiven to powerful forces which are actually endangering our society. And this is very much our one of the sub themes, but looked at from highly interesting perspectives, like for example the perspective of the extraterrestrial communicator. His name is Gonpo or Ta. He has a human incarnation form as well. Sometimes when he materializes, we see him as a human, and sometimes we see him already turning to a zeta reticulian entity. And these are the spiritual development, the momentary state of uh, of spirituality, what there is to come for spirituality, how the spirituality of a third millennium is looking like, what has to be done, how very much we are still connected with our divine source we are all coming from, and so forth. And meanwhile, talking about that and revealing about these issues, these physical phenomena are taking place, and actually uh, they are coming with a message in themselves, because showing us the instability and the fluctuating nature of materiality. Actually, we are being taught in that moment that what we are all focusing on to, even whole societies are focusing on consumption, consuming material things the whole day. Our whole luck of our lives, the fates of our lives are oriented onto the material. And in these seances, the spirits demonstrate that it is all an illusion, and that we have to search and find in another corner of the room for our revelation and for our luck. So this is a whole scheme of physical phenomena, and beautiful, revealing physical phenomena, specifically when the people are receiving these gifts from the spirit world. They feel very much blessed. Then the deceased are coming by as well, not so centered and not so solely like in mental mediumship, but they come as well. They show themselves, they show their faces, and when they show up, you can imagine the people are very, very touched. So this is all part of it. Yeah, actually, it is called physical mediumship, and it is basically in spiritualism, at least, quite well known, even though spiritualism has long fought against this path of mediumship. But yeah, in Europe, there is a history of economics, how mediums that have actually created a market for themselves did not want to have other parts of mediumship to be successful. This had unfortunately to do with the fact that England was very much involved with the evolution of mediumship in Europe. And in England, most of the mediums were coming from the working class. And the working class was very poor, held very poor. And there was very, very quickly a spirit of was heißt nochmal, a competition, a spirit of competition between the mediums. And from this is actually coming from negating other forms of mediumship, because I want to hold actually customers at the or onto the mediumship I am promoting. So there was many years of negation of physical mediumship. Today, all those who have fought against physical mediumship to revive, because it did revive finally, with a loud boom, with a loud bang. It was the Skoll Group's work then, maybe you have heard of it, with the Society for Psychical Research. There was a huge book being written at these times, 1996 it was, and that was the revival of physical mediumship. And then when it was clear it cannot be negated anymore, suddenly they all turned into physical mediums as well. Suddenly, all these enemies who were before enemies of physical mediumship, when they saw they cannot suppress it anymore, you find in their bio, yeah, most of them, or many of them, I don't want to put all into one Schublade.
In the drawer.
Yeah, well, in it all in one drawer. So that's the story of mine.
Wow, that's insane. That's awesome.
Yes.
No, I was gonna say like Europe has a long history of using mediums, and especially the Nazis during World War II with the Vril Society. I don't know if you know more about that, or do you tamper more into the Vril, or does the Vril still go on in Germany?
Yeah, you know, on the one side, mediums were strictly being looked after, and in the end they landed in immigration. Either they fled from Germany or they landed in the concentration camps, because Nazi Germany was not wanting a medium through which a higher entity, for example, was communicating. People could listen to this higher entity, and that was not wanted. What they were looking for was a society that was totally fixed and focusing onto the Nazis and the message of the Nazis. So mediums who potentially had spiritual, maybe even higher beings in their repertoire, they were, was heißt denn verfolgt? Followed? They were,
Chased.
yeah.
Maybe.
What?
Chased. Chased.
Chased, yes, exactly. That's the right word. They were chased actually by the Gestapo and caught and locked away or even killed. But you are still right, Dustin, because at the same time, inside of the Nazi society, they had built something what was called the Ahnenerbe. And the Ahnenerbe means something like the elder's heritage or something like that. And in the elder's heritage, there was more or less all these activities been going on, like, for example, the Real Society or the Black Sun, Thule Society, and these were occult societies inside of specific realms of the Nazis. Different Nazi groups that have formed around specific protagonists. And of course, there was an official order as well, because what was it all about? What were they looking for? It was free energy, and that's why Vril actually stood in the middle of the activities and the interest. But actually, from this point on, it is quite unclear how far it really went. If Haunebu really existed or not. Haunebu, this huge thing that was allegedly enabled to even enter space. I mean, today we are again discussing these multimedial objects, since we have the images from the warships around which these spheres were first flying around, floating around the warships, and were then actually diving into the waters. So this discussion actually must have been taking place around Haunebu 2, Haunebu 2 as well. So we cannot really say. We cannot even say if the Glocke actually was. The documents are not fully clear. Is that what you know, Daniel, as well, or do you have other informations?
The Nazi bell.
The Nazi bell and the Glocke, the bell, exactly. What do you believe, Daniel, how far that went? Has Haunebu 2 really existed, the big one?
I'm not sure. I think you know what I think. You know me.
Yes, yes.
I'm not so sure about that. I think it's an interesting story, and I can imagine that it's actually true, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, the documents we have, they are actually in a specific way or form, like romanticizing a little
Yeah,
bit
they have like
this issue.
blueprints of this thing too.
Yeah. And yeah, unfortunately, we do not know, but it is an attractive topic, of course, to reflect upon. Specifically, yeah, documents and visual proofs like photos or films or so. I just saw a documentation yesterday about Skinny Bob. And
Oh, yeah.
what we know actually about Skinny Bob, there is maybe the thinkable probability that he is actually real and that these are actually real film clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, difficult.
Skinny Bob, very difficult. Yeah, it's very interesting. I saw all these videos and it's very interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. It's the same with the Roswell autopsy videos and stuff like that. It's the same. It's interesting to look at.
Yeah.
And somebody's coming around the corner saying, I know these are all fakes. Then somebody else is coming and say, no, these are real. You don't know, you just don't know. But it's interesting to look at. So
You want me to? Do you want me to show some photographs?
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
of course.
Justin, show some
Well,
photographs. Justin
Well,
has
you gotta let me share. So these ones are the ones that are really popular. This is taken in 1981, somewhere in Nevada. And these were taken by Colonel Wendell Stevens. The claims of Michael Horn.
What has happened? My screen has suddenly. No, okay. Oh wow. Oh, never seen it. Never seen before.
So I have 12 photographs of it just as this UFO kind of it moves a little bit. Each picture is a little bit different rotation of the UFO, but the F-117 comes in swooping at it in different angles. But yeah, again, very beautiful. You can kind of see the F-117 is kind of blurred because it's moving, and then you see the stationary UFO. And these two were taken
yeah, exactly in Brazil, I believe. Huh? Was it Brazil?
Somewhere. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly.
At these times, I just wanted to refer onto these photographs because at these times, these photographs between UFOs and jet fighters were very, very popular. And a German magazine had featured this row here of this collection. Oh, wow.
These are two housewives that were taking a walk one day, and they saw this thing just slowly come up to them. I guess there's a series of photographs, but I only have the one.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, these were taken in Wisconsin, where I'm from, up north in Colfax, Wisconsin. It was taken by a police officer. He was in Colfax. He was on his lunch break, parked on the side of the road eating his lunch, and he just listening to the radio, and he happened to notice that his radio was crickling in and out, and he saw this metallic object in the sky, and he happened to grab his camera right next to him and jump out of his car, and he was taking a series of photographs.
Oh,
but it was
well done.
And it was zigzagging so fast you can only get so much, But I only have two photographs from that. Colfax, Wisconsin. Mark.
Anyway, absolutely. Wow, unique original photos from 78 with such a content. Wow.
Yes. And that's the thing is this is Colonel Wendell Stevens' handwriting on the back of them.
Nice.
So he's got the largest collection of UFO photographs in the world. And I got some of them.
Cool.
Yeah, you're lucky guy. We talk about UFOs, Kai. You're familiar with the Billy Meier case, I guess?
Oh, yes, of course.
What's your opinion on the Billy Meier case?
Yeah, difficult. But I believe that there is something like like a core that was real. Where to draw this line in regards to the photos and videos he produced is very, very hard to tell. But I believe somebody who so sacrifices everything for that, what he's doing, promoting this story. And here we also need to regard that in the focus for Billy, I believe, more stood the messages he was receiving. And I believe even there was, or there still is, or at least there was, a very regular monthly, maybe, publication about the messages from the Pleiades or the Pleiadians. So there was a message coming with, and a typical message, which we are regularly encountering. If we interview the children which were encountering a UFO landing in Ruwa, Zimbabwe, or if we are talking to abductees like Kelvin Parker, they all have in the background this notion: you are not treating your planet rightly. And this was in Billy's contactee case, more or less the same.
Mhm.
And I believe when you had such an encounter, abducted or contacted, but at least the contacted, because the abducted are often, or were oftentimes, traumatized, but the contactees, when they had once or twice, or some even more, or on a regular base, such encounters, they have to like a manic, they have to talk about and to share and spread the word. I believe this is a natural reaction of our body and mind. If you actually come to the conclusion you have actually been in contact with something non-human, non-earthly, I can easily believe that from then on there is a spark buzzing inside of you that permanently pushes you to talk about it and to distribute and to publish and so forth.
Yeah,
You're right, dude. I
you're
agree.
right. Yeah.
And even if that may be photos you are staging because you want to, these things were speculated that even in genuine cases, when the people do not feel rightly heard, that they produce, staged photographic material actually to underline what is true. But of course, when then it is found out that it was staged, of course, then that was a Bärendienst, we say in German. So actually, not really successful try to promote your thing.
Yeah, there are stories about time travels and photos of dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
seen them and I was like,
I was going to say, Michael Horn was in your neck of the woods. He was in Switzerland over the weekend visiting.
oh, Michael,
Billy, yeah,
was
Billy Meier.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
he is. Yeah, that's why he kind of. That's why he didn't want to do anything with this over this today. I guess that we usually have him on. Yeah, we have Michael Horn come on and talk with us, and we have other people who are interested in the Billy Meier case. Just me and Daniel are obviously on the fence. We're just open ears to the subject, and we're interested on why people follow him in general. And yeah, again, like I'm like I feel like he did have his contacts, but got cut off short, where he felt like he got to continue these contacts with his people following him, and then that's where it came into a little bit of a fakery and stuff like that. But again, like I think you said, there was maybe some core truth to what he's saying, especially if he's sticking with it for so long and having death threats and having being shot at and stuff like that. I don't know. It just makes you think. It's a big mystery in this world. That's why I love the controversial side of it.
Yes, always. This is a little bit this the controversions around the cases are oftentimes just sparking.
Yeah.
I mean, but part of the mystery, of course, is that he is never available. What I find a little bit sad, because it would be easier if you could look this guy into the eyes and ask him about that.
I thought for sure Michael would hit you up saying, "Hey, I'm in Switzerland. Come over and visit me. You're a few hours away."
That would be cool to meet Billy Meier in person.
Yeah.
Not too far away. So let's come back to the physical mediumship again for a second. Let's talk about. Can you explain to us what happens when you're in a trance and when an entity takes over your body? What exactly is happening to you? Is there a way to explain it?
Yeah. There's a way to explain it. I mean, these are actually techniques of self-hypnosis, and this hypnosis has ordering parts which put you asleep, which put you unconscious, actually. So you first go into a deep form of trance in which you interconnect with powerful images, with visualizations, with techniques of visualization. You actually connect, or you open the channel for the guest spirit which wants to join. And I am doing that with a breathing routine. Actually, I am opening specific parts step by step. I am breathing myself out of my body into a virtual space, which I am using since I did my first meditation when I was 13 or 14 or so. It is a space above my left shoulder, and I totally retract all my awareness about my bodily presence. I retract into this space over my shoulder and open the physiological space that way for the guest spirit. And proportionally, me retracting into the space, the guest spirit is actually sinking in. These are widespread techniques. Every deep trance medium is actually doing that. And then you are facilitating something which we are calling automatic speech. You are overhanding this automatic speech impulse. You give it another force sign, so to speak. You take yourself out of the route, out of the path, and you let the spirit world, so to speak, position itself in front of that automatic speech process. Because we are speaking automatically. Everybody is doing that. So our words are seemingly quicker than our thoughts. So what I am saying is not actually the result of what I have just thought about, which words I will be using in the next sentence, and how these words are sounding and so forth. No. We are speaking spontaneously and automatically from what our personality is and what our knowledge is and what our background is. This is actually expressed by our automatic speech process. And when you, in these hypnotical mentalization and visualization techniques, you take yourself away from this very starting point of that process, you actually make place for other impulses. And these impulses are basically all around, everywhere. You only have to open your eyes and you see how much information is externally of the human being. Look what the creation has put in front of us, all around us. And these spirit guides, they are actually personalizations of that information which is existing around us. And yeah, taking usually the form of a human being, simply to get in contact with us in huge human words and speech, actually to make the supernatural for the first time for us, turn it into something that we can communicate. Because until then, the supernatural was usually very coded. We call it parapsychology because it is a parallel psychology, which is very hard for us actually to see through and to understand. And with these spirit guides, for the first time, this supernatural content is seemingly becoming approachable for us. So actually then these spirits are the messengers of the supernatural, the messengers of a higher form of being, or at least an alternate form of existence besides the human form of existence and besides the usual human forms of intercommunication. So it is an offer, actually, mind techniques are offering us to somehow get in contact with another nature of information and another way how this information is communicated. And when you are lucky, you have an inspired spirit guide who is capable, let's say, to entertain, so to speak, 20 guests over 3 hours with a content they find inspiring, and they leave afterwards and say, oh, that was quite great. And yeah, and that's what it's about. It's a technique, and it's a connection with, it's a mind game. We cannot really say where this is coming from. Is this maybe coming from the very depth of myself? Yes, no, and is maybe the most inner depth of myself even anyway interconnected with realms of a much wider quality than our reality anyway is. So we cannot really say, but it can become a very interesting mind game, let's say. And when then physical phenomena are coming with this communicator, then it turns to be much easier to accept this communicator as truly something extraordinary and special, because it is not only talking like, let's say, another human being. No, it somehow has control over our physical environment, and that makes the communicator per se from the first place onwards interesting. Don't you think?
Yes, definitely. You once told me that before you start a seance, you do sing and clap with the guests to get yourself in the right mood and pump yourself up a little bit, and to
No, yeah, not really. this is when the physical phenomena then actually shall happen quickly and shall happen powerfully. It is interconnected with the, we always call it psycho-emotional energy and presence of the sitters. And when they activate this this feeling of self-awareness, and they activate it through singing and through participation, and to be aroused and to be interested, actively interested, and keeping that up for 3 hours, this is actually nurturing the process. If the people simply would sit there with crossed arms and would not participate, the energetical dynamics would function very much differently and very much lesser and lower. So it's a group endeavor, actually, energetically. And that's why the people are asked to sing and to become active, to activate their psycho-emotional self-awareness.
Yeah. So would it be possible that a spirit enters the body of a guest? Since maybe some of the guests are in some kind of a trance too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are. It is unquestionable that they are. When you are preparing yourself and when you are embedded in a group of, let's say, 15, 16, 17, 18 people, which all have that in the focus. And when you then together enter a room which will be hermetically closed and a specific music and light arrangement is actually preparing everyone for a very special journey of 3 hours, you can estimate that every single one of these guests are in a specific state of mind. And with this specific state of mind, the definition of trance is fulfilled.
Yeah.
So they all in a the one is more in a more slight trance. Another one might be very much entranced. The one lady feels that she is giving a lot of energy into the process. She actually feels it, how it leaves her body via the knees or via the solar plexus. Another one may not experience so very much that he may be part energetically of the process. But anyway, he's fascinated. So these are then different degrees of actual participation, but everybody is doing actually its best. And then there may be mediums, but usually this is not wanted. And every medium actually has techniques to avoid that an own mediumship may break through in such a session. When you are a medium, you are usually totally avoiding that, and you are doing everything that may not happen. And usually this is being spoken about with your guides and so forth. So when that happens, then these are people with a very thin layer between them and the spirit world, and usually we try to avoid such people because you have to have control over your spirits. It's not good if your spirits are overrunning you. You are the one who has the last word, and if something like this happens, everybody can see that you have not control over your spirits, and that's not good.
Interesting.
Mm.
We're almost have come to an end, but I think Dustin was especially interested in the ectoplasm. Maybe
Oh yeah,
I'll ask you a question.
absolutely. Oh yeah, the question, please.
Oh no, well again, I just saw that video of you. I don't know if you were in a trance at the time, but something was coming out of your mouth and elongating. look like a hand almost. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Ectoplasm is, for the Western Hemisphere edition of that supernatural practice, communicating with spirits. It's one of the central artifacts. In it, all the mystifying, all the misunderstood, all the strange, all the bizarre is actually reflecting, culminating in this strange substance, which is unquestionably there and unquestionably building up many times in front of the people and very well lit in good light. Yeah, and it's an artifact of the Western spirit communication realm, the ritual environment of that. It is actually representing the physical world as it is representing a spiritual world, if you wish so, as well, and this melts somehow into one another. And ectoplasm can take many forms. We have observed forms of like pigmentation going on inside of that ectoplasm, and then suddenly sharp faces, like in 3-dimensional, are coming forward in different sizes inside of that mass, like integrated holograms or integrated 3D photography or something like that. And oftentimes these are the faces of the deceased relatives of guests. Sometimes they cannot be identified, and then we are usually not receiving very much more information about it. Yes, and in the most sophisticated stage of development, there is a realm we are calling full materialization phenomenon, when those who are in control over the evening and have proven their presence anyway already in the hours before, they in this stage even can achieve the capability to materialize from ectoplasm as a figure, as a manly figure in man height, usually very much covered. In the early days, we speculated if it may be the shroud these spirits are showing themselves in. But in the end, ectoplasm, by the way, was called spirit cloth in the years before this term ectoplasm was applied. It was, by the way, applied by a Nobel Prize winner of physics, Professor Dr. Charles Richet. He applied this word onto these ongoings in parapsychological fieldwork, seances. And what happens there? It comes from the medium. Sometimes it comes from the sitters. Sometimes it is there. Yeah, and powerful what is going on for the observers when they are confronted with this mass and how it operates. It's a living substance, if you wish so. It breathes, it moves, it flexes, it evolves. We have some strange recordings about that on our YouTube channel as well, where you can see these movement patterns. Highly, highly interesting. At the height of the seance, it is shown. Usually, not always, but people are waiting for it, actually. Yes, and you know what is going on in people who observe these things objects that materialize and dematerialize, and dozens of objects coming from the eyes of the medium. It's a strong spiritual message the people are receiving through this. And about this, we are happy very much and proud. We know it's the spirits, but we are happy that we can share that with the people because it's special and it has these strong spiritual undertones. Yeah, and ectoplasm is a culmination of that.
When did you first experience this ectoplasm phenomenon? When, for example, sometimes it's coming out of your mouth, right?
Yeah.
So when did it first happen? At a seance or when you were in private at home?
Yeah, interestingly, I had already before it became visible for the first time in a seance. I had fantasies or thoughts or even sensations about it. I felt something growing in my mouth and giving me an uncomfortable feeling, actually. And I dreamt about that very much often, and I could never actually understand what it was. When I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, I had these strong dreams about it, but for the first time visible, it became with the spirit imperator, which then turned into the spirit Hans, the German name, Hans, H-A-N-S, very classical German name. And he's referring to himself as a Hans who once have been a famous parapsychologist in Germany. And with him and under his control, for the first time, ectoplasm became visible in our seance room.
Weren't you scared when you first experienced it? When it came out of your mouth?
No,
a scary feeling?
Because in all these activities, or when the things are coming from the eyes in that mass, or when it sounds, sometimes the ectoplasm, when it is building in the mouth and coming out, it is blocking actually the tubes which are responsible for breathing, and then the medium, me, starts to choke and sometimes starts even to help the mass to get it out quickly from the mouth. But all this is under a very, very thick layer of awareness. I am not at all in any way or form in an alarmed state or interconnected what is going on. In the contrary, I am in a strong slumber, and about everything else, the spirits are responsible. So I am actually saved from it. You know how very much unnerving it is. We even have a sand corn in our eye. And here, yeah, dozens of objects actually. At the moment, we have 10 coming from this eye, then 10 from the underlid, from the upper lid. And then he sits there, and my wife is shining white light into his face, my face. And then he starts again, and from the upper lids more, and from the lower lids. And then in between, from the ears, some additional are produced. So, and when we overlook that, we can easily say that we have materialized that way with the help of the spirits, thousands of objects. And I was just contacted by a Russian scientist, I don't know, but a Russian researcher. And he said he has a connection of 450 photographs of my apportations. I mean, I have them myself somewhere, but I have never put them together. So he contacted me just 2 days ago, and I looked through these more than 400 photos, and that is quite astounding what was produced there. Some of them with a more personal connection in regards to the receiver, because they are all given further. So we are not beholding none of them. They are all being given further. Some of them have value, some of them have not. The people immediately ask, why aren't these all diamonds? Of course, because the spirits know us very well, and they know how quickly the people would look onto the stones the other has received, if they may be more valuable than mine. Spirits are anyway antipodes, antibodies actually, of the physical, of the monetary. So the value does not lie in any monetary scheme, even though some of the stones we know are very valuable, several hundreds of dollars at least. From time to time, people cannot avoid to go to the jeweler, and they then have received very much often these estimations, such estimations of several hundreds of dollars or of euros. And some are glass-like or crystal-like, but not jewelry.
Gems.
Gems, right, gems.
Interesting.
That is absolutely amazing. From like the
Yes.
outside, from an outsider's look, it's just like poltergeist in a sense. It's like you go into a trance and then stuff comes flying out of your eyes, and then you have ectoplasm flying out of your mouth. It's like, holy Christ. Then you come out of it, it's like, oh, I had that. I had that.
Yeah. On first sight, definitely, but the
Wow.
poltergeist actually is the most negative spiritual entity that can get on stage, so to speak. So on first sight it may be, but it's exactly the opposite. It's exactly the good, and the poltergeist is always ruining the whole environment where it is going on. It's a truly negative force.
Yeah.
And our entities are exactly the opposite.
Cool.
Need
That's
to
really
clarify
cool.
that.
Maybe we can talk about poltergeist the next time. Unfortunately, we have come to an end for today.
Yeah.
Great talk, Kai. Thank you for taking the time. It was very, very interesting.
That was great.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. It was very nice. And poltergeist actually is truly a topic worthwhile to talk about.
Sure.
Definitely.
I bet you're very knowledgeable about that. So I'm excited to hear.
Me too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. All right, guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you again. Please stay with us for 2 more minutes, okay?
Yeah.